Hey, welcome to another episode. So today we're talking about something that I think is often glossed over when we talk about expat life, and especially when we talk about living here in Italy, but it's really, really important, and that is friendships. How do you go about making friends in Italy or in any other country that you might move to? Like, how do you do it? It's not easy. So this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we begin, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I'm Ms. Britaly. This is my channel where I share a slice of real Italian life through weekly vlogs and videos, and I talk about my unique experiences as a Brit living here in Italy. So if this sounds like something that interests you, then consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you know when all of my posts go live. So let's get into today's video, shall we? I wanted to talk about this because it's been 3 years since I've lived in Italy, and honestly, for the first year and a half to 2 years, I had the loneliest of experiences because, as I've spoken about in many of my other videos, the language barrier was a real debilitating factor in my early experiences here in Italy. And I think when I think about friendships and forming friendships, not speaking Italian limited me massively because it took that long for me to find another community of English speakers, especially here where I live in Salerno. Now this varies and depends where you live in Italy. There are some parts of Italy, Milan, Bologna, where there are greater English communities, but where I live here in the south, especially here in Salerno, English isn't widely spoken, and so for this it took me a lot longer to find a community of people that spoke English. And so it just got me thinking a little bit about friendships, because something I don't think a lot of people realise when they come to Italy is that Italians often have a very close-knit circle of friends, and they've often known these friends all of their life. My boyfriend, for example, has friends that he has known since he was at school, since he was like 4 years old. And a lot of other people that I do know here have got childhood friendships. And this is something that is very different to what I'm used to coming from London in the UK, where I feel friendships in the UK are very fluid, very transient. You can have friendships that you have all your life, but you can have also short-term friendships, people you know for a few years or a few months, and then they flow in and out of your life. It's a very different experience. I feel coming from the UK, it's not as normal to have friendships from when you were a little child or school as it is here in Italy. And also because I know in America it can be the same from some of your comments on other videos, because if you're traveling around and you're leaving the country to go to work and to do other things, you do naturally lose contact with people. So I think, you know, that impacts the type of friendships that we have. But if you come from that environment and you move to Italy, a country where people have these really close-knit, tight-knit circle of friends, you can feel very isolated. And if you're not careful, you can feel like there's something wrong with you. Why don't you have these friends from when you were 4 years old? But it's just a different culture. And one of the biggest things I can suggest that you do when you move to Italy, if this is what you plan to do, is to search out expat groups and communities, because this will immediately alleviate the isolation that you may initially feel when you come to a brand new country, especially if you move solo as well. Now, one thing I will say about expat groups, I've spoken about them a lot. In fact, watch this video, which is why I tell you need to be cautious when it comes to them. But one thing I will say about expat groups is that I think it's also important to remember you have a common link, a common denominator between all of you. You are all living in a country that is not your birth country. But it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to form long-term friendships in these groups. They could be people that you connect with for a few months or a few years, but recognize that as you develop and settle yourself in the country you're in, unless you also have other shared interests or connections with these people in these groups, you may well find yourself kind of wanting to look for other friendships or kind of moving into other circles, because I find expat groups are a great way to begin your experience when you don't know anybody in the country you're in, or you know very few people. But unless you really connect with people on another level, once you have navigated those shared experiences together, you kind of have nowhere else to go. So just recognize that expat groups may not have the long-term friendships you require, but they can certainly help you with feeling less lonely and to feel more confident in the country you're in, so that you can form those friendships that have longevity and some form of a connection and structure. So this is just something that I would say about it, but it isn't easy. And you know, I'm a very positive person, and I will tell you that you have to absolutely try everything in life and live outside of your comfort zone. But also I'm realistic, and I want to tell you what real Italy is like. And you can feel very lonely here if you don't know anybody else. It can happen, but everything is a mindset. And so, you know, I just think that you need to remain strong and positive and understand and recognize that friendships are different. And, you know, it doesn't make you strange because you don't have the same circle of friends all your life. I believe, and I can't remember who put it, it might have been Lisa Nichols, but somebody once said that friendships can be like seasons. You have maybe one or two or maybe more friends that you have for your entire life, and then you have some that you have for a few weeks or a few months or a few years. And you know, that's perfectly normal. I don't think that there is a one-way route, if you like, to the perfect friendship, but I think it is about acknowledging that connection is important, and you know, will help to make your expat experience a lot nicer than if you are just solely by yourself. But yes, so I hope this has helped. I just wanted to share my thoughts about friendships here in Italy, because you know, it is different when you live in another country, and especially if your cultures are so different. So yes, I hope this has helped, and I'll see you in the next video.